Are you familiar with the phrase soup's on? I sure am. And it brings back the sweetest and most comforting memories. My grandmother and my mother both used to use that phrase when there was a big pot of delicious soup bubbling away on the kitchen stovetop. Come to think of it, they would call out soup's on whenever they had something delicious cooking in the large cast iron pot on the stove. I'm fairly certain that if you haven't heard that expression, that you have heard the one soup is good food. Do you know the origin story of those words? We're going to talk about that today, as well as the many reasons why soup really is good food. This is the Wishing You Well podcast, and I'm your host, health coach Maria Patrick. We gather together this way once a week so that we can talk about the health headlines in an attempt to learn something new, find some inspiration, and keep our wellness journey on track. Thank you so very much for tuning in and spending time with me. Even though the words soup's on is something that I have heard going back as far as my first ever memories, as I mentioned before, I wanted to find out exactly how long this idiom has been around. The earliest references I could find date back to 1800s literature. Charles Dickens used the phrase in one of his books in 1836. It originated, the phrase soup's on, from the simple act of serving soup at mealtime in old Anglo-Saxon societies. This was usually at a large communal event where family or community members had gathered together to eat. Historically, soup was often the first course of the meal, especially in large households, large families, large gatherings, which meant that when you heard someone say the words soup's on, it meant that the soup was ready, the meal was beginning, and it was time to sit down to eat. We have used the phrase like so many other things that become part of our vernacular. We've used it quite commonly for so many years. And when we use it, it often indicates nothing having to do with the actual soup or a meal, but rather it's used to indicate that something is ready to begin, whether it's a task, a project, an event. It indicates readiness and perhaps even some urgency as you're calling people together and saying, something along the lines of, let's get going, the soup's on. How about the phrase, soup is good food? Sometimes we hear something so often and repeat it so regularly that we forget where it came from. Soup is good food, as I'm sure you know, was a marketing campaign used by the Campbell Soup Company. And in my humble opinion, it's a brilliant marketing phrase. What better way to get people to buy and eat your product than to regularly and repeatedly tell them that what they are selling you is good. It's good food. Lest you think that soup is good food was Campbell's one and only slogan, which I actually thought it was. I had forgotten that there were others. And some of you may be familiar with these, and maybe some you didn't know about. In 1935, they started using the slogan, good. And that was so successful and popular that it's still been used up to this day. From 1969 to 1975, Campbell's used the slogan, give me the Campbell life. They tried that out for 6 years. For a little less than 10 years, from 1975 to the mid-80s, that's when we got soup is good food. In the 1990s, they switched to never underestimate the power of soup. I don't think that one lasted very long. In the early 2000s, they used a very simple one-word slogan, possibilities. For only 1 year, from 2009 to 2010, they used the slogan, so many, many reasons it's so good. That one only lasted the year. Since 2010, they've used the slogan, it's amazing what soup can do. And more recently, from 2015 until now, they use the slogan, made for real life. Campbell's Soup and the slogans that they've used have been such a part of our everyday life and our vernacular, like I said, which is why I was so shocked when I heard this past week that Campbell's was dropping the soup. They're not getting rid of making it and selling it, but they're removing the word soup from the name of the company. I couldn't believe it. I operate under the philosophy of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why mess with a good thing? And also, it got me thinking, what in the world is wrong with the word soup? Why would you drop it? So here's the scoop on the soup. After 155 years in business, the ubiquitous Campbell Soup Company plans to drop the word soup from its corporate name. They're going to rebrand themselves as the Campbell's Company. Apparently, the reason for this is twofold. One, and this may come as no surprise to any of us, is that people are snacking more, much more, and eating soup much less. And it's also because the Campbell's Company, as it's now going to be known, sells a lot more than just soup, all of which I did not know. They apparently own Goldfish crackers, Snyder's of Hanover pretzels, Cape Cod chips, Pepperidge Farm, you know those delicious cookies, and Rayo's Italian sauces. The company recently released a statement saying that the name change, while it's subtle, is important. They want to retain their iconic name recognition and reputation, which they've worked so hard to build over these past 155 years. But now the simple name Campbell's and removing the word soup is going to better reflect the full breadth of the company's portfolio. All these other companies that I mentioned are now part of Campbell's business. The soup has become a smaller portion of the sales. The snacks have become a much larger profit margin. When it comes to snacks, they are big business, huge business, as in $200 billion spent on packaged snacks last year alone. It's such big business, and because we eat so many processed snacks, it's the reason why Mars, which is the company that makes M&Ms, paid $29 billion to buy Cheez-Its and Pringles. So as your helpful health coach, I am here today to get you to eat less processed, unhealthy snacks, no offense Campbell's and Mars, and more delicious, healthy, nutrient-dense, comforting soup. Soup is a quick, hot meal. It offers a ton of health benefits. I love soup so much that I typically cook several large pots per week. You can almost always find me chopping and tossing ingredients into my cast iron pot. Yes, I inherited that cast iron pot that I mentioned earlier. It was passed down from my great-grandmother to my Nana and then to my mom. It is more precious to me than gold or pearls. This is the beauty of soup in its simplicity and its charm. You can quickly and easily throw a bunch of ingredients into a slow cooker in the morning before you leave for work or school and return home to a delicious meal in the evening. Or like me, you take a break at lunchtime, throw all the ingredients into your cast iron or some other stock pot, cover the ingredients with stock, let it simmer, and while you get back to doing your work, business or housework, in a few minutes, really, in 45 minutes to 60 minutes, you're going to have a delicious soup ready for you to eat for one or more meals. Again, no offense to Campbell's, but when you make soup homemade, it's so much better than canned. I actually want you to ditch those iconic cans from the supermarket and start making your soups from scratch. When you make them homemade, you control the ingredients. There's no chemicals or preservatives that are needed to extend the shelf life like they have to do for the canned versions. You control how much sodium goes in or putting no salt in. You can make your soups organic and vegan and gluten-free and dairy-free. All you have to know are the fundamentals. What makes a healthy and hearty soup? It's using fresh and sometimes even frozen, low-fat ingredients that are loaded with nutrients, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and you're using a minimum of salt and added fat. This is a great chance for you to use up your leftovers in your soup pot. You can become a super chef or a mad scientist in your kitchen as you create new variations of your favorite recipes, even the favorite recipes that come from the cans. Soup and making soup is the perfect way for you to experiment with your cooking. As we know, and you've heard me say this on this platform before, we need to make sure we're eating enough vegetables every day. And there's no better way to do this, especially if you are vegetable averse or if you're trying to hide the vegetables from your family members. There's no better way to do this than to fill up your soup with loads of different vegetables. And if, as I mentioned, you're trying to sneak the vegetables into someone's diet, you can puree your soup into some creamy, yummy goodness using your blender, and no one will be the wiser. They don't have to know how many vegetables made that delicious concoction that you're serving them. All they will taste is something delicious and comforting, and they won't even realize that you took the advice and recommendation from me, your health coach, and the American Heart Association, which recommends that adults consume 8 or more servings of fruits and vegetables every day. That's over 4.5 cups of vegetables, which if you don't want to do them 1/2 cup at a time or 1 cup at a time, getting them into your soup is a great way to do it. Think about it this way. What are you trying to eat more of? Are you trying to get more sweet potatoes, butternut squash, or carrots into your diet so you can up your beta carotene intake and strengthen your eyesight? Well, it's easy. Cut them up, add some stock, and simmer away. Want to boost your immune system or heal your thyroid? Take last night's leftover broccoli, add in some onions, celery, garlic, soup stock, let it cook, then puree it in your blender, and you'll have cream of broccoli soup that is so much better than any canned version. Do you hate mushrooms, but you want to lower your risk of getting cancer? Make a delicious mushroom soup and you will be well on your way. How about tomatoes? Did you grow a lot of them in your garden this summer? Why pay for canned tomato bisque when you can easily make your own at home? From a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, and you know I study this extensively, it is a time for us to ditch the cold stuff like the salads and raw vegetables and ice cream and start filling up our bodies with warm and nourishing foods. When you do this, you're going to help combat the dampness in your body. You're going to improve your digestion and your elimination. Almost any vegetable will lend itself to being used in soup. And you can add in, if you have frozen vegetables that you're trying to get rid of that have been stashed away in your freezer, add those in too, right into the simmering soup, and you'll increase the servings of vegetables and add some flavor as well. You've heard me talk about the importance of getting in enough protein each day. You can also do this, get in that building block of your body's amino acids with your soups by adding in beans, lean meats, and seafood. This will quickly increase your daily lean protein intake. I so often make a vegetable soup that at the last minute I add in shrimp and scallops. And so it covers a whole host of necessary essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients for my diet with that one soup. When you do this, adding in the vegetables and then the protein, you're going to be ensuring that you are eating enough fiber every day and fueling your body with antioxidants, which you need for disease prevention. And you'll also ensure that you are getting low sodium and healthy fats. If you're dairy-free like I am, you can add nut milks to your soup instead of cream. So many soups are made with heavy cream and butter. I went to a cooking class. I might have mentioned this many podcasts ago. I took my family to a soup cooking class, and we were appalled when we watched the chef put in the chowder that she was making, the seafood chowder. I think it was 3 whole containers and 2 whole boxes. That's 8 sticks of butter. So 2 whole containers of heavy cream, 2 or 3, and then 2 boxes or 8 sticks of butter into the soup, and I use neither cream or butter in my seafood chowder, and it's delicious. You can also, this is a pro tip, puree some white beans and add those in to thicken up your soup. It'll make it creamy without having to add in flour or cornstarch. And that way you maintain the soup as gluten-free and dairy-free. Basically, once you add any soup to a high-powered blender, you can use an immersion blender, one of those stick blenders that you plug it into the wall, put it right into the pot. You will be left with a creamy, dreamy, delicious soup that has, as I mentioned, no butter, no cream. Eating healthy, nutritious soup on a regular basis is a great way to fill yourself up and stave off hunger for a good while. When you eat soup and other high-volume, low-calorie foods, you're going to find yourself feeling fuller longer, while at the same time, you're getting healthier. Your skin, nails, hair are going to get better. Your eyes will get stronger and clearer. You'll have more energy, more strength, and you'll lose weight. When you make these soups, you're going to want to keep the lid on your stock pot, or obviously if you're using a crock pot or an Instant Pot. That way you'll get maximum nutrients from the ingredients and minimal nutrient loss. That's one of the 5 main reasons to make soup, and I'll give you 4 more before we say goodbye for the day. So 1 is the minimal nutrient loss. Number 2 is that, as I alluded to earlier, you're going to easily get your RDA, your recommended daily allowance of vegetables. You can throw in 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8 vegetables in there. You would never be able to eat that many raw vegetables in a day. And when you do them raw, they're harder to digest, much harder on your body to digest. So if you do it my way, by putting that soup on the stove every day, soup's on, you're going to be getting your recommended daily allowance of vegetables, which means you're getting all those antioxidants. Third reason to make soup is it's a filling food. You're not going to miss the unhealthy carbs in your diet, and you may even find that your cravings for carbs and sugary sweet treats will go down as well. Fourth reason to eat soup, it's a great way to get beans into your diet if you are not a bean lover. It is recommended that we eat at least 1 cup of beans per day. And when you add even just 1 cup to your serving of soup, you're going to make getting in those beans on the daily much easier. And number 5, we're all busy. We live on-the-go lifestyles. Soups can easily be brought with you on the go. You can put them in a portable mug, a thermos that'll keep it warm. You might have access to a way to reheat them wherever you're going, where you're going. And this is going to help you when you're hungry and you're short on time. I said there were 5 reasons. I'm going to give you a 6th one too. I like meals that you can prepare in advance. Maybe cook a bunch of soups on a Saturday or Sunday when you're less busy, and then have those for easy, quick, hot, nourishing, comforting meals whenever you need them for lunch or dinner during the week. So the next time that the words "soup's on" are said out loud, I hope that it's you that's saying them. Soup is good food, and when you make it regularly, whatever variety you choose to make, you will be doing something great that your family and friends will thank you for, and your future self will thank you for. If you need help getting started, I have a link in the description box to 2 of my favorite go-to soup recipes. So don't drop the soup. Embrace it, make it, eat it, enjoy it, and know that while you are doing all that, your health coach will be doing it at the very same time. Until we meet again, I am wishing you well.